Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell, and today I'm going to be sharing with you another episode of Thursday Reads. I have a lot of books to talk about yet again because I am still having a wonderful reading month. We are nearing the end of Once Upon a Readathon Treasure Island edition, and it's been the coolest month ever, basically. I've just had so much fun. I've made a ton of friends. I've just had a blast, and I hope that you have too. I have read a lot, and it's been about a week and a half or so since I filmed my last Thursday Reads, and I think I have at least 10 books to talk about.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay, so I've actually read 12 books, and that's a lot. So I'm going to go through these kind of quickly like I did last time, and I'm just going to be popping up pictures right here because I am kind of in the middle of like redoing my shelves, and it's a whole thing, and I just apparently cannot be bothered to deal with that. So I'm popping up pictures even though I actually have copies of most of these. I'm sure editing me is going to love me. Before we get into this, I just want to make sure that you click the subscribe button if you haven't already. And don't forget to click the like button and comment down below and let me know how you have enjoyed Once Upon a Readathon, what team you are on, or just what book that you have really enjoyed recently. All of my social media is linked down below in the description, including my Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. With all of that out of the way, let's just get into this video. So the first book that I read since my last update was Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. This is the third book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is the second series in the realm of the Elderlings. It was an amazing conclusion. I gave this 5 stars, and it might be my favorite non-romance that I've read this year. It's right up there with Wall of Storms, but I think it has it beat out because this was just an epic conclusion. I loved the character growth that we experienced. I loved the character arcs. I loved the plot arcs. I loved basically everything about this story. Robin Hobb just has an amazing way of writing characters that gets me so attached to them. And I'm pretty sure that in the Farseer trilogy, the third book was my favorite in that series as well. So I guess I just really enjoy how Robin Hobb kind of wraps up her series. And this one was no exception. It was just a beautiful, beautiful ending to the story. Heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, tear-jerking, but also beautiful and wonderful and awesome. Every word that you can imagine, basically, for an epic book. Yeah, I love Robin Hobb. The next one that I read was This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Mafi. I gave this book 4 stars. I enjoyed it. This is a story about Jinn. Our main character is a Jinn, and they're kind of just treated really poorly in this world. It's a bit of like a fantasy romance. It's YA, and I don't read YA. And in the beginning, this was really reminding me of S.A. Chakraborty's writing style, but then it kind of took a very cliche YA twist. This was a low 4 stars for me, possibly 3.75. I don't know that I will continue on in the series because I really only continue on in series that I know or I think I'm really going to be in love with. And that's just not how I feel about this one. It was beautiful and it was well written, and I definitely do recommend it, especially if you like YA fantasy. You should check this one out. It's just that I don't read a lot of YA fantasy, and it just didn't hit as hard as I would have liked, and I thought that it was a little bit cliche. The next book I read was my first ever Beverly Jenkins, called Forbidden. I won't be telling you guys my rating for this or really talking about it much because it's for a secret project, a video that I have coming out. I don't know when, but it's going to be coming out. Anyway, so I can't tell you my ratings for this one. So I guess stay tuned. The next book that I read was The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. This is the second book in the Bridgerton series, and I really, really liked it. I think I still like the first book a little bit more. I'm not a huge Anthony fan, and I think part of the issue is I read the first book before I watched the show. And then for The Viscount Who Loved Me, I watched that second season before I read the book, though. And I think I'd prefer to read before watching, so I need to make sure that I read I think the third and fourth book before I watch the next season, because I think that the next season of Bridgerton is actually going to be about the fourth book, if I'm not mistaken. So I want to read the third and the fourth book before I watch the next season. And this is just a historical romance series set during the Regency era, and it follows a large family. Each book follows a different sibling and their love story, and it's just like a really nice, fun historical romance. Continuing on with my historical romance kick, I read Joanna Shupe's The Heiress Hunt, and this is set during the Gilded Age in New York. And it was okay. This was a friends to lovers, like a childhood friends to lovers story. And I'm really not the biggest fan of friends to lovers. It's just not a trope that I generally am pulled towards. I much prefer rivals to lovers or enemies to lovers or opposites attract, or I don't know. Something about the friends to lovers I find kind of just not super exciting for me. I am intrigued to read more Joanna Shupe because I liked her writing style, and I do want to read more from the Gilded Age. I don't think this was the right one for me to start with, but I gave this one 3 stars, and that really is just because I don't think it was the right trope for me. I don't really like friends to lovers, but the writing style was fun. The story was fun. It was an enjoyable read. It just wasn't like mind-blowing for me. Okay, and next I read Zool by A.G. Wilde. This was an alien romance that I really liked a lot. This is the first in a series. I haven't read any of these books before. I learned about the series from Ava from Ava's Romance Reads, and I really, really liked it. This is basically about this group of women who are abducted by these evil aliens, and they are being held captive. And there's these other undercover agents, and they're like another race of aliens, and they basically save these women. And I think each book follows a different couple, a different undercover agent with a different human female, and they crash land on this planet. So it's like a survival story, and there's forced proximity, and they have to get to their like rendezvous point so that they can like continue on with the mission, but they have to survive getting there on this planet that's like really hard to be on. It's like desert, at least the first one, it's like desert, and basically everything is out to get them. There's all these crazy scary creatures and plants, and it's fun. I also thought that the hero was super swoony. He was like a scary, gruff on the outside, like bodyguard kind of dude, but he was like a super sweet cinnamon roll on the inside. And he was, I don't know, he was like the ideal alien hero, I feel like. So I really like this one a lot. Definitely recommend it. I gave this one 4 stars, but like I'm feeling closer to like a 4.25 or a 4.5. I'm gonna have to sit on it and think about it, but for now it's at a 4 stars. I don't like lowering my ratings on Goodreads. I would prefer to raise them. So right now it is a 4 star on Goodreads, but I'm feeling closer to like a 4.25, but really liked it. Definitely recommend if you want to try out some alien romance. Next, I read Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. I read this for the Summer of Tessa Dare read-along, being hosted by a bunch of wonderful romance booktubers. This is the first book in the Castles Ever After series by Tessa Dare, and this is probably my favorite Tessa Dare that I've ever read. It's a historical romance. This is about this girl whose father was this famous author who wrote these like fairy tales, basically this like nighttime fairy tale or these bedtime fairy tales, and she is kind of destitute, and she gets a message that she needs to go pick up some inheritance that she didn't know she was getting from like a long lost godfather or something like that. She ends up getting to this big old Gothic castle, and the Duke is there. There's a Duke there. The Duke's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I'm supposed to be meeting someone here." And craziness ensues from there. I adore the like super fans. There's like these fans that play cosplay pretending to be characters from her father's book series, and she has a really wonderful relationship with them, and like I loved them. I loved the found family. I loved the romance. I loved the gothic vibes. I loved the plot. I loved everything. This is a 5-star. This was such a good historical romance. You know what I really liked too was it was so different from the other 2 books that I've read by her, because the other 2 books I've read were in the Girl Meets Duke series. And I felt like the writing style was a little bit different because this had much more gothic vibes. And I feel like she took her time more with this romance as well. And I don't know, there's just something about it that just, it bumped up. So I think this is the first 5-star I've ever given Tessa Dare. I loved this book. Okay, so I am super, super, super getting in the mood for fall and winter, which I know is kind of crazy because we've just hit summer, but I'm not a summer girl. I'm just not. Maybe in skin tone, like I'm a summer. But other than that, like I am definitely not one for the heat. I'm so ready for fall vibes and Christmas vibes and all of those special like holiday season fun things. Like I'm just ready for all of it. So I decided to go ahead and read a Halloween like erotica novella. And so I picked up Scream for the Scarecrow by Violet Taylor, and this one was freaking crazy. The hero is a scarecrow, and he's more of like an anti-hero. This is like horror romance, and it was freaking crazy. The scarecrow comes to life every year on Halloween, and him and the heroine, they get up to some craziness in the pumpkin patch, and I thought that this really gave a lot of really fun Halloween vibes. The heroine and her friend get apple cider. There's a scarecrow. It is creepy. There's a little bit of gore. Check your trigger warnings as well. There's dubious consent in this, and I had a great time with it. So the next book I read was Barbarian Lover by Ruby Dixon. This is the 3rd book in the Ice Planet Barbarians series. This is an alien romance series that has like over 20 books in it or something. I don't know. There's a lot of books in this series. And this is about, very similar to the Zool premise. So a bunch of girls get abducted, but instead of being held captive on the space station, they basically are on the spaceship on the way to be traded. And in the process, their ship goes down, they crash land on this planet, and they end up having these fated mate pairings up with these big blue aliens that inhabit the planet that they crash landed on. So a little bit different in that way, and this planet's super cold, hence Ice Planet, and it's basically them learning to survive and make a life on this planet, and each book follows a different couple. And I really, really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4.5 stars, but the couple, this is my favorite couple that I've read by Ruby Dixon so far, and I just thought that they had the best chemistry. I adored the hero. I thought that he just had the best attitude, and he was so sweet and so perfect for the heroine. I really, really like the couple. I definitely plan on continuing on with Ice Planet Barbarians. Next, I read Juniper Hill by Daphne Perry. This is the 2nd book in the Eden series. I really enjoyed the first one. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. Unfortunately, I know this is actually most people's favorite book in this series, but I did not like it that much. I'm giving it 3 stars because I feel like the reasons I didn't like it were more personal. Like, there were things I just really didn't like about this hero. I felt that he was a bit overbearing and controlling and like jumping the gun when it came to taking over fatherhood of our heroine's son. So basically this is a story about this girl. She's a single mom. She goes across country from New York to this little town in, I don't know, where is it, Montana, Wyoming? I don't know. So she gets this job as a maid at the Inn of Eden's Own, and she is basically going to be staying in the loft at the chef, like the chef's son's property. And so it's a romance between her and him, like the chef at the inn. And I loved the foodie aspects in this, but like I said, I thought that the hero was a bit overbearing, and like he didn't really ask to take over fatherly aspects, and he started calling her son his son, and he never really asked permission for anything. And I get that the heroine liked it, but as a mom, I did not. Like, to me, I felt like that was like way stepping over the boundary, and like you need to ask and discuss those things in private before you start doing certain things with my kid. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. As a mom, I felt personally like that I wouldn't have appreciated those things. And like, I get it, it's fiction, but I don't know. I just didn't like it. And I also didn't really like, I guess, where the plot went. And I don't know. I just wasn't vibing with it, to be honest. And I don't usually really like a lot of like the kids stuff incorporated into my romance. And I felt like because the heroine was experiencing so much mom guilt, that was kind of like kept pulling me back into like real life. And I read for escapism. Like, I feel enough mom guilt on the daily. I have 2 toddlers. So I just didn't want to deal with reading about someone else also having mom guilt, if that makes sense. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. In enjoyment, it was probably like a 2.5 star, but because it was so personal, I kind of feel bad giving it 2.5 stars. So I'm giving it 3 stars. Next was an awesome read. I read Mistletoe by Kimberly Lemming. This is the novella in her Meet and Mishaps series. I gave this book 5 stars. This is a Christmas, well, not Christmas, but it's like the Yule festive winter solstice book for her series, and I really liked it. It's about this fox shifter, and we have our heroine who's just basically trying to break a curse, and this curse is freaking hilarious. There are talking swords. There is, I don't know. Kimberly Lemming just always makes me laugh, and I just always feel so happy and just enjoy myself when I read her works. So this book was no different. I adored it. I just thought it was the perfect little Yule novella, and it was a good time. 5 stars for sure. And finally, I just finished today Obsession by Kay Lorraine. This is for the read along that Maggie is hosting on her channel for the Make Games, and we are also doing like all of the spoilery discussion in our Discord, the Hideaway, that me and Maggie share together. The link's down in the description, as well as the link to Maggie's channel. If you are not already participating, I totally implore you to. This book was so much fun. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I had a really good time. This is a Why Choose a Paranormal romance series, and it was just super fun, super spicy, hilarious, also just addictive as well. If you're looking for an addictive Why Choose series to jump into, check this one out and read along with us too, because that was so much fun. We did live reading sprints, and then we were all chatting about it in the Discord and having a really good time. I definitely recommend you check it out, because yeah. So I gave that 4.5 stars. I really liked it. This girl basically goes to this university and runs into her mate that she has rejected. She is a werewolf, but her wolf has not come out yet. And it's a White Shoes romance. There is this like naughty vampire priest. There is another vampire, and then there's a werewolf, and there is a Viking god who totally gives Chris Hemsworth vibes, and he's my favorite. No, I think the priest is my favorite. I don't know, they're tied. They're tied. I have 2 favorites. That's fine. But yeah, definitely loved that one. Had a really good time. So what am I reading right now? Right now I'm reading A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mila Vane. This is a fantasy romance book, and it is like very medieval feeling. It gives historical medieval romance vibes, but with this really high fantasy world. I'm loving the world building. This is enemies to lovers, and it is like true enemies to lovers. Like, I don't think I've ever read an enemies to lovers that is this enemies to lovers. Next, I want to pick up Tessa Dare's Say Yes to the Marquez. This is the 2nd book in the Castles Ever After series. There's going to be a live show. I'm going to link down, I can't remember whose channel it's on, but I'll have them linked down below. The person whose channel it's going to be on. I know it's going to be on the 2nd, but I'll have that information down below in the description. But this is the 2nd book in the Castles Ever After series, and I want to be able to read it before that live show on the 2nd so I can chat in the comments for that live show. I don't know much about this at all, other than it's about this heroine who's basically been engaged to this dude for a very, very, very long time, and she gets a hold of like his best friend or something to try to figure out what's going on, and in that process they fall in love, I think, maybe something like that. I love the cover of this one, and I really liked the first book in the series, so definitely want to read the next one. There's really only a few more days left, so other than those two books, finishing up A Heart of Blood and Ashes and then reading Say Yes to the Marquez, I think I might just go ahead and start in on some of those books that I talked about in my July TBR video. If you missed that, then make sure to go check that out in the description. I'll have it linked down below. So check that out, because yeah, I might just go ahead and get started on some of those books. But if you made it this far, leave me a doing your nails emoji in the description. I don't know why, but like in Say Yes to the Marquez, it looks like she's getting dressed, and it made me think of getting ready and doing your nails. That's what's happened. So leave me a doing your nails emoji if you don't know what else to comment. Otherwise, let me know what book you think I should pick up next and what books that you have loved most recently. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. All of my links are down below in the description, including my Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life. Until I look away, but I've known you too long. It hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.